Hello. Hey there guys, this is WTii, and this is actually a replay. It looks like I'm going into an actual real life game, but it is indeed a replay that I just played, and I had to record it because of what happened. It was quite amusing pretty much, and it was worthwhile watching as well, because there was a lot of dominance. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. There was a lot of dominance from our team, and a good 2 versus 2 going down. So we're gonna cover it, and I'm actually playing as Orc as well. One of the few rare times where I probably do a fairly good job as Orc. But yes, feel free to watch, and I'll try to commentate as I see it. But I will be probably focusing on my gameplay and Reds, since we're the top 2 versus 2 teams. So feel free to read the chat and enjoy that whilst I go over the characters in this game. On Team 1, my team, we have Lewis Lit. He's playing as the Night Elf, and I'm playing as the Purple Orc. Underneath me is Panda again, and he's the Blue Human. And then Mr. Nishta, and he's the Orange Undead. On the enemy team, we have Last Gusu ROC 69, playing as a Yellow Human. Underneath him we have Helshi as the Pink Undead, and then underneath him we have IASU as the Teal Human, and then underneath him there is Kazam, the Green Human. So I'm sending off a scout, as we can see. I'll try and commentate it as I was watching this game as a commentator, as an observer, so I'm going to commentate from both sides. So whilst I'm scouting, it looks like Panda again has actually got his... I thought that might be a guy from the enemy team, but he's actually put out a farm all the way out here, so that's a nice little touch. So that can keep an eye on what the enemy are doing. The reason why I'm scouting is because I intend to be aggressive with my Blade Master. So War Mill, buy up your items, and then make your way down to the enemies. Because I know that 2 of them were human, at least, from the loading screen. So there's a very good chance that they're going to fast expand. And Lewis Lit is sitting there with his Demon Hunter and 2 archers, and he is going to go off and creep, I believe. So meanwhile, my peon is about to encounter something wonderful and miraculous, and this is what you want to do. This is why you scout out early. What does he see? It's a Fog of War. He begins to see that a paladin, along with footmen and militia, are moving out. Well, where could they be going? He's either going to fast creep this spot or go all the way here. He could potentially go here, but why would he come from that angle? That's the way I would look at it. So I'm going to assume that he's fast creeping an expansion, so Blade Master is there in the nick of time to basically be the biggest pain in the butt you can imagine for a human player. Essentially, this is really bad for Last Goosey. He doesn't really stand much of a chance here. His best bet is to probably just full stop go for my Blade Master, which he tries to do, but even then, amongst these creep camps, because there's so many of them, so many mobs, they're spreading out a lot of DPS, and if they're not hitting my Blade Master, they're hitting any of the peasants or militia or footmen or paladins around, and that makes it a real pain in the butt. So I know he has no range, so I run away after I've done enough damage, I feel, put down a healing salve on myself and a clarity potion, and I know that he is in trouble. He probably cannot continue to creep this, but he might still try, so I know that there's a couple of peasants out. He's still there, so I decide to go in a bit further and see what else I can take out, because I would have assumed that he'd get back by this point. But one of the reasons why he didn't is because he sent in more militia, and Pink was on his way to cover him, which is fine. Pink does his job. I can no longer engage in this fight because the mobs are almost going to be dead, and I cannot take on that many units. So my job now is to carry on healing myself up with the healing salve, clarity pot, and make my way to Last Goosey's base, because he's already taken quite a hit. I wind walk before the towers can hit me. I know that I'm going to lose the rest of my mana. I don't care at this point, as long as I've got all myself healed up so I can escape quite comfortably. So I'm going to try and take out whatever else I can. Just putting as much pain on Last Goosey as possible. If we pause the game now, although this is only really focused from my point of view, I'm just going to have a little look around and see what else is going on during this. So it looks like Kazam and IASU from the enemy team are harassing this expansion of Panda again, and he's got Mr. Nishta with him, trying to hold this. I know that there was quite a struggle going on here. Otherwise, Lewis has been creeping away. He's level 2 on the Demon Hunter. He's about to get his clear expansion whilst all this harass is going on over here. And I'm just teching up right now. Lewis is teching Town Hall for Panda because he's focusing on getting the expansion first before he can tech. And the Undead is of course teching as well. On the enemy team we have Kazam, who also has not teched yet, but that's because he wants to get this expansion down. I didn't capture what was going on over here, but that wasn't too necessary because there's too much going on up at the top. IRSU has got a comfortable expansion down, so he's probably the player that's best off here right now because his expansion has been cleared. There's no threat to it. And the Helshi guy, the other Undead for the Undead enemy team, is also teching. But meanwhile, Last Gusu has got far too many resources. Is that me? Probably me, yeah. Last Gusu's stuck on that wood issue, and I'm going on these peasants as well. So this is really a side bonus. I know he's hurt, and it's good to go for those peasants regardless, but I didn't know that doing this would be so helpful. So really, he's going to be dependent on his allies actually feeding him wood to even get another expansion up. Otherwise, he's going to be sitting here with a bunch of peasants that can't do anything. So let's continue again. Blade Master is pretty much outstayed his welcome. I know I can get the last kill on that because the DK is going to block it. Then I basically want to get out, want to go down, visit the Undead base. Now I really wanted to try and get a little glimpse of him, even though I knew I was risking getting myself into the Nerubian Tower. The reason why I came out wide here is because he might have already had tier 2, unlikely, but I realised that he didn't, so I came in a little bit and I saw that he doesn't have that much to give away other than fiends that he's continued to build and attack. So I'll make my way over here, and what Helshi does, you'll find out, this is quite clever really. This was a good move. I get myself over to the Fountain of Health. He's already revealed me, and I thought, oh, he's backed off. That's a strange move. That's lucky for me. No, what he did is he aggroed the mobs and only pulled one of them with the fiends. Meanwhile, the rest of the mobs are going to target me, and I can't windwalk away. And they have a frost attack, so I'm pretty screwed. Now, I TP out here. A lot of times it might not be worth TPing, but for me personally, it was because of the amount of damage I did to yellow early on. If I was not successful in my attack, I wouldn't have probably TP'd. I would have really been questioning whether I should have TP'd, but that was totally the right decision because immediately my Blade Master goes back to the shop, buys Healing Salve, Clarity Pot, and then he makes his way up to the top. And this way I can engage along with Lewis, who's level 3 now, pretty powerful. He's got his archer army and he's cleared out his expansion, so he's making his way comfortably, economically wise. My Shadow Hunter's just come out. He's going to take a couple of items and he's going to make his way along with my Blade Master up to the top. By the time my Blade Master gets to the top, he's going to be full health and he's going to be quite comfortable to continue harassing yellow once again. That's a real big reason why I would TP. That was a very nasty mana burn there. So, meanwhile, we put red is a star this game. Mr. Lewis lit. And poor yellow, who, if we just pause the game for a moment, look at his resources. He's still down to 70 wood. Has he started teching yet? He hasn't even been able to tech. He's focused on getting as many peasants for wood. I don't think he's been getting much wood from his allies then, I'm going to guess. Because that would have helped him out a lot. That would have probably changed his game. Because if you get screwed early on in the start, particularly if you're a human, and Kazam's hero is dead, because they're continuing to try and harass this, but Panda again, and my teammate Mr. Nishta, has managed to hold their attacks off, but they've also got their expansion anyway, so they're just being aggressive whilst holding their own expansions. So technically they have 3, and we only have 2, and that one isn't even up yet. So we really need to make sure that this attack up here works. So going back to this, we can see Lewis is sitting at 38 food. I haven't got much, but I still have my powerful orc heroes to help me out. So we'll go back to my point of view. Now, as you can see, this is one of the biggest reasons why I did not TP, because I'm an orc. Why I did TP rather, because I'm an orc. Because you can just heal and salve your way back up. If you TP as undead, I mean, Night Elf might be the exclusion here because of Moonwells. You can heal yourself back up, but that's always dependent on whether you've got those Moonwells available. But the other races generally cannot heal themselves up very comfortably. So if you TP with a level 1 hero that's got 20 HP, it's generally regarded as a waste of time. But I also didn't want to give any experience away when I TP'd. Orc is the one race that can get away with doing it because of healing cells. So we go back in, we can see that the towers are just going to get insta-gibbed. Basically, we don't want those teching away into anything interesting. Now go straight for the Death Knight. The perfect thing here is my Shadowhunter is just in range here to cast down a Hex, and this leaves Helshi in a horrible spot, and I know he's in a bad spot, so I'm not going to leave him. I'm going to keep chasing him down. As every time I Hex, I move with the Shadowhunter. Hit, run, try to get ahead. Hex once again. I have enough mana for one more Hex at least. The Blade Master is going on Helshi. He does not stand a chance. I do put down the sprint bonus just to make sure that he does die for my team. And then it also looks like we might be able to get the kill on the level 1 Paladin here, who has Holy Light and does not have Defiant Shield. So one more Hex will guarantee the kill, and down he goes. This leaves the enemy in a very bad spot. Now, the one mistake I made here was I neglected to notice that the Lich had just arrived, even though it is within my sight. I think at this point I killed the Paladin, and then from my point of view I would have gone like this: click back over here, right click with both of my heroes. But what happens here? I basically, from my point of view, because I was looking at my Blade Master here, this is it. If you zoom in on my Blade Master, this is as far out as you can zoom in. I don't see the Lich. Now, what I should have done, just to be safe, but from my point of view, is both the heroes were killed, so I knew that my Blade Master should be okay, is I should have wind walked because I had the opportunity. But this is what happens when you don't wind walk. Frost Nova goes down, dead Blade Master. That was an unfortunate loss, an unnecessary loss, but I understand why I lost it, because I did not see the Lich there. But obviously, in hindsight, I would have wind walked, even though I couldn't have known that the Lich was there from just the angles that I chose. Now, Yellow here should have continued to run back. He's given us a couple free kills. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and get the Shadowhunter just to be a threat, just to sort of hang around at the back, even though he hasn't got Hex available, just to make it seem like he can threaten the enemy, because that's a big off-put. And Lewis, with his archers here, is able to put out quite a lot of DPS because there's no real threat to those archers right now. Not a massive threat anyway. Now, we know that the undead is coming back in. So Lewis gets himself into a position. He moves his archers up there, so it makes it as difficult as possible for the enemy team to try and do any damage to those archers. Meanwhile, he leaves both of his heroes, who are quite chunky and strong, to sort of deal with the threat at hand. And the Shadowhunter is ready. He's going to have a Hex available soon, and we're just going to pick off any units that we can. The Paladin is very little threat right now. It's just the undead. So the Hex goes off once I realise that the Death Knight is in trouble. Lewis has the option to go for either the Fiends or the Death Knight, because the Death Knight doesn't have much mana to coil his Fiends, so he could have either if he wants. Now, when I come back here, my ambition is to send the... well, meanwhile, this is what's going on in the background, because I can harass and be a great threat to the enemy team because things are going well. With just my heroes alone, I'm basically taking up to Wyverns and tier 3 Wyverns with Shaman. Now, my Blade Master comes out, and straight away he's going to pick up some items from the shop, just basically heal himself and clarity pots. You always want to fill up on those, and then his goal is going to be to go to the shop here, get a boost of speed, so he can continue being a strong threat to the enemy team, because you want boost of speed on Blade Master, and he's going to pick up a Staff of Teleportation, so that way he can get back into the fight. So we're going to come back to this little fight over here, and last ROC Gusu is getting him a lot of trouble. Now it's up to Helshi to try and threaten Red enough to force him to TP, and he does here because the Frost Nova goes off and Lewis is in a bit of a tough position there. He might have possibly been able to run the Demon Hunter straight to the left and out, but very unlikely that it would survive. So he took the choice to TP out, which is slightly unfortunate for me because I was ready to continue the fight, because my Blade Master is picking up the items right now. Boost of speed, Staff for Teleportation. He's then going to teleport over to my Shadowhunter. So really, when you put yourself in a position like, it gives a clarity pot as well to my Shadowhunter, so he continues putting hexes down. Now, we know that last ROC Gusu is in a horrible spot. He's not handling this situation well. He's only just about to hit tier 2. He's He's got 3 barracks. He's now got too much wood. And I don't think he's actually managed to be able to get much gold out of this mine. 11,000. No, he hasn't got too much out of it, to be honest. Even Lewis caught up a little bit there. So we're going back into this. We don't want to let Last Gusu get any chance to get back into the game. So this is why you've got to keep the threat going. Blade Master's back in. Wyverns are going to... So let me just pause this for a moment. You can't actually see their ability, but they essentially have Envenomed Spears, which is a tier 3 ability that you can research for your Wyverns. And this puts a poison effect on the enemy, which allows it to take damage over time. So with this, you want to try to hit each unit at least once. So that way, just hitting it once means that it's going to take about 200 damage or whatever it might be. So it takes like the initial 40 damage and then another 160 damage from the damage over time. So instead of focusing the same unit, you're spreading and maximizing the amount of damage by casting that Envenomed Spears on each unit. Now my heroes are just going to straight up go for the towers, I believe, because I don't want those researching or upgrading in the background. We know that basically at this point Last Gusu ROC is in so much trouble. It's really not a good idea to try and hold this expansion, but this is where they go wrong on the enemy team. Although they're already behind, they haven't necessarily lost it yet, but this expansion is pretty much gone, but they don't seem to want to let it go. Now Lewis is on his way, so he's not far behind. He's coming back, so he basically TP, got himself healed up, bought some new items that he wanted. Now Last Gusu, because he's having a horrible game, is still stuck at level 1. He's got a fair amount of rifles, none of them upgraded, but he might be getting the tier 2 ability from the keep. I don't know for his rifles. Not yet, because he hasn't got it researched. His range isn't increased, so we know that this expansion is in a lot of trouble. The Paladin is still a very small threat. Now what I'm doing here is, I know just from the way he's moving, he's not straight up attacking my heroes, which some people would do. He's moving all the time, even though he's in range to do so. So it obviously means he's going for my Wyverns. So I'm going to move my Wyverns back. I'm going to try and lure him back over to this area where my Wyverns can hit him over the cliff comfortably and they can't get too screwed over. And if anyone does TP in, I can also get out without getting webbed. So I'll pull him back because he seems pretty upset, so he's going to just charge into this, not really thinking it through. And I'm going to try and take down the Paladin because he's still level 1, so he's easy to kill. He hasn't got Defiant Shield. Hex can go down. That's one of the few things you just saw there of why Orb of Lightning can actually backfire on you as an Orc. Generally, it's like the best orb there is. It's regarded as the best orb, but it can also purge your own abilities. So I just cast Hex on him, and then immediately afterwards, when the Blade Master attacked, he procced the Orb of Lightning, which deals 150 bonus damage to summoned units. And what this does basically, when it procs, which you can proc at any time pretty much, it dispels magic, and that includes your own. So you can see my Wyverns are a nice little arc here. The rifles are trying to get themselves into position to attack. I know I can get a few hits off on the Paladin, and once I've done that, I'm going to keep my heroes on the Paladin and then move the Wyverns back. Anyone that's getting focused needs to move back. Keep moving behind the trees, behind the edge. Now, what happens here is even more funny. This backfires on Kazam, as you will see. I see Last Gusu TP. He's obviously played terrible this game, had a really horrible game. We've just kept the pressure on him. Me and Lewis have just been keeping him well and truly under control. He TP's out, and I see that the TP is going off on this expansion. Now I believe that it's actually him TPing, so I'm going to move my heroes to the right hand side so I can hex him and focus him properly and bring down his Paladin. But he's actually TPing back here. You can see the little blue circle around the main hall. But who's TPing in? Oh yes, let's try and find him. He's somewhere. Not sure where his army is. We've got Teal over here. I haven't been able to keep an eye on... Yep, oh there he is. So they've been actually doing quite a lot of damage. They're actually pressuring Panda again in his main. But as you can see, there was so much action going on, so I was just going to mostly focus on my side, but I might also capture what's going on for other players, because I'm sitting on a lot of resources there. But he's TPing out. Where is he TPing to? Well, he's TPing here. He's actually got a potion of lesser invulnerability, which I didn't know at the time, but I think he failed to use it, which would have basically saved his life here. But this was a bad TP anyway. I'm not sure what he was thinking. I assume that when he started TPing, or as he went to TP, he thought that Last Gusu was going to stay and fight. But Last Gusu actually TPs out, which then leaves Kazam on his own, TPing in. TP's at the bottom, so he should have TP'd over here. And he's got Hex. Oh, I see. Didn't even have a chance to use that invulnerability pot, because that's what I was assuming it was going to be Last Gusu, so I was immediately ready to go on the hero. But instead it was Kazam, so I noticed it was Kazam and still went straight for his hero, especially since he was low HP. Blade Master's on it, Wyverns are attacking, Hex has gone off, it's just about to run out, but 18 life left on the Archmage, results in dead Archmage. So that was hilarious at the time. Absolutely so funny. Terrible move there by Kazam. Helshi's now forced to TP out because he can't take us all on, which then means that they've used about 3 or so TPs. Someone else is actually TPing back in for some reason, which they shouldn't be. But that's now IRSU, who once again cannot take this on. So they mess this up monumentally. The Shamans are casting Bloodlust all over the shop. The DPS of the Archers, the Wyverns, the Blade Master, the Demon Hunter is just going nuts right now. This expansion has cost them the game well and truly. Feel free to read the comments, it's pretty funny. But at this point, we had this well and truly under control. More Shamans coming out for myself, more Wyverns, just keeping focused on that. Blade Master's nice and strong. And for Lois, I'm not sure what he was going for later on. I think it was shims. I think he did say earlier shims, so we didn't even need them, but he had these shims ready. He had his expansion going away, so he could then bring in the firepower shims. My allies looked like they were starting to put some pressure onto the enemy expansions at this point, so that was just hilarious when Kazam TP'd in there. It's terrible. And there you go. There was the GG. Just thought I'd cover that from my point of view. One of those rare games where it actually went well for me as Orc. So next time I'm going to pick on Last Gusu as much as possible, because he did not handle that situation well at all. I was definitely in the right place at the right time, and when I realised that, I never let go. That's what you do. If things go well for you, especially if you're Orc and you're a Blade Master, you just keep the pressure on. You never let go. Keep harshing, keep hurting them, and enjoy it, because it was a lot of fun. Now that's the end of that. We can see the scores here. As you can see, the only reason why IRSU is actually amongst our team here at the top is because he got that expansion down early, and his expansion was just untouched pretty much, so he managed to get the most gold mined, which gave him quite a nice score. But otherwise that was pretty much domination from our team. We just totally and utterly controlled them that game. Now, as I was going to say, I'm not going to record every game because I'm on a bit of a mission now for rank 1, and that's just resulting in too many games, and I can't upload too many games to Warcraft 3 because then the views just get spread out and people just get upset. Believe me, it actually works against me when I upload too many videos, and I found that out when I did the 600 and uploaded like 18 videos. It didn't work out too well. So it's going to be more about quality than quantity. So this one I thought was worth covering just because it was funny. But I'm going to record my games, but you might not actually start to see them all come up. Generally, I used to throw them all up because I'm now on a bit of a mission. Even though it takes me a hell of a long time to find games, so I'm not even going to have that many spare games. So you're not going to really miss out on much because it still takes me sometimes an hour or so to find a game. But because I can be doing that in the background whilst I'm doing work in the background whilst it's searching for games, that's fine. Because if you try to contact me, most of the time I'm going to be AFK in the channel. So that's the reason why I might not respond to you, is because I'm still just searching for games, but I'm actually minimized on Warcraft 3 and doing work on my PC or whatever it is around my room, or going downstairs and rushing around hoping that I can get back up in time before a game is found. Because Warcraft 3 is quite good in the sense that you can minimize it, and then when it finds a game, it then maximizes and takes over your screen, letting you know that you found a game. It does that almost every time. There have been a couple of times when it hasn't, and I've come back and I've been like 15 minutes into a game and everyone's left, and I'm like, oh, it found a game. Okay. Oh dear. So yes, I'm on a mission for rank 1. I'm going to be recording every game that I play, but I'm only going to generally start to put up games that I think are worthwhile now. So those might include losses as well, and I'll try to be analytical about it, but they are generally going to be from my point of view. There's a few of them are going to be replay ones. I just didn't have my recording equipment out, and I just didn't fuss about it. I was just going to play, and that's what happened. And I got that game. I actually got a game before that, and we absolutely dominated that one as well. But that was well covered, and we could have covered that game, but it wasn't so necessary because it was a bit too harsh. This one was more funny because it had Sam, who is a complete and utter dick for some reason. So it's always funny getting that kind of personal touch and owning that person. So that's why that was worth putting up. So like I say, generally I'm going to try and put up enough content, you know, half an hour to an hour each day. So you're still going to get that going on, but it's going to be more of the good stuff. Really, that's what I'm aiming for. So I might have some games that are just complete and utter one-sided fests, and they're not interesting to watch, and people will be like, well, I've just watched, you know, spent 20 minutes watching this and nothing really happened. So, you know, that doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for me. So I'm just going to try, as long as I have enough games to upload, I'm going to try to pick the ones that are worthwhile, so that way we can all benefit from it. So thank you for watching. This has been WTii. Please subscribe, like and comment, and I'll see you later for more.